not just crazy conspiracies anymore. Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Pyromancer here, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. We're here on my stream on Twitch, as you can see the chat up here. Hello to all the Twitch chatters, if you guys want to throw some love to YouTube. If you guys are watching this video, you may have already seen my latest video, which is reacting to the third Titan disc quest, talking about what Belladar is. Now today I want to bring to you some information to provide some additional context as to what Belladar might be, and to maybe assuage some fears as to what it might not be. So with that being said, we're here in the Titan Chamber, and I'm just going to go ahead and allow Arcades to explain this one last thing to us, the most recent explanation, and then I'm going to go from there. Yeah, we'll start with this.
What is your query?
At the Titan's command, we Keepers began the acclamation. Each installation, all linked to the manifold, produced vast numbers of Titan-forged workers.
Shows the halls of origination with earthen in front of it.
Fired the great forges.
They were never there.
To fuel the acclamation.
The earthen were never accounted to have been in Oldham.
Heal the ravaged world. Then began construction of the coreway.
This looks a lot like the engine of the Makers in Northrend
of Azeroth, that would allow the Titans to study the world's soul without harming it.
That's definitely of Mimiron design, by the way, in my opinion.
However, as we delved deeper, we encountered certain obstacles, colossal crystals, which we came to realize were calcified chunks of the world's soul's essence.
Right. That's what they believe.
They are of great power, and I wonder how many yet remain undiscovered beneath the earth, all over the world.
And it shows 4.
By word of the great Khazgoroth, the Titans' research has revealed that Azeroth's world soul is indeed the Prime. Our purpose may yet be fulfilled.
And there's a lot of details in this one.
Enormous, powerful chunks of world soul essence. Do you think Belladar and Halifal could be one of them?
Potentially. But it was never within the scope of our edicts to study the crystal.
That's convenient.
He mentions the Titan Forge making the coreway. Did you know it was built to study the world soul?
We were created for the great purpose of serving the Titans, and thus we built it. Its purpose was irrelevant to us.
I love that line.
We fulfilled our edicts dependably, and we have strived to do so throughout the millennia. Despite Kaz Algar facing many setbacks.
Setbacks? What do you mean?
Long ago, the continents of the world split apart, and the machinery that powered our facility was damaged, cut off from the manifold. We were unable to repair the connection. We operated on auxiliary power for a time, but eventually it ran out, and we fell into disarray.
That must have been the Sundering. It's miraculous that any of this survived intact.
All right. So, I want to go over some of the things that they're saying there. Let's start with this. At the Titan's command. Now this probably means nothing because the Titans commanded the Keepers to do everything. But Norgannon specifically specializes in the power of command. It is specifically what he does, provides direct order. Regardless of that, the Keepers begin the acclamation. Each installation, which are being linked to the manifold, produce them a bunch of Titan-forged workers. What High Speaker Brinth points out here is that those Titan-forged workers basically did exactly what they were told without ever questioning any of it. So, if they built the core way without knowing what it's for, and the big core way is a huge cylindrical mechanism, it would not surprise me in any capacity if they were also responsible for the construction of Oribos. I think that visually, Oribos looks extremely similar to some of what we see in Khazul-Gar, and it is the direct mechanism through which the Titans were able to assert order upon the Shadowlands. Perfect order in this case. It's only half of the hourglass though, so it's kind of weird. Regardless of this idea, we can move on to the next point that they say. We fired the Great Forges to fuel the acclamation and empower the Manifold to heal the ravaged world, which is ravaged partly due to the fact that they just waged war upon it with the Titan Forged against the old gods. Then began construction of the Coreway, a direct channel to the heart of Azeroth that would allow the Titans to study the World Soul without harming it. This to me implies a few things. Perhaps they had tried to study the World Soul before and harmed it. Perhaps on other worlds, World Souls had been harmed. Obviously, we're talking about Yasharaj getting ripped out here, right? Talking about damaging the world, right? We don't know if that actually did any damage to the World Soul itself. See, I think this is interesting because the Titans sometimes to me come off like mad scientists or doctors, where they might open up a channel directly to her heart and then remove it, for instance. If the heart of the world was actually ripped out, I believe that heart is Argus the Unmaker. That is why Sargeras' sword was stabbed into the heart, and why the sword was filled with, potentially, the chaotic power of Argus itself. He was not only giving a powerful adrenaline shot, essentially, but he was returning the heart back to where it was. Here's where we get into the actual Beledar itself and why I don't believe what these records say. However, as we delved deeper, we encountered certain obstacles, which doesn't really make sense to me. First of all, because Beledar is stuck in the ceiling of a magnificently large cavern. I don't really understand why it was an obstacle for them, and this may suggest that they had to build around it. But it also says that it was already there. I want you to remember, though, that as we go through this is based on the perspective of Arcades and the Titan Forged in time. They came to realize, which means that they could be wrong, that these were calcified chunks of the World Soul's essence. Now, what does the word calcified actually mean? Hardened by deposition of or conversion into calcium carbonate or another insoluble calcium. Calcified. For something to calcify, it is to harden by deposition or deposition of or conversion, right? So I want you to understand something. Just because this big crystal is alleged to have come from Azeroth doesn't mean that it has nothing to do with the Naru, because it's not that hard to at least conceptually try to link the Naru to creation itself. Furthermore, however, he says they are of great power, so they found multiple. I wonder how many yet remain undiscovered beneath the earth all over the world. They then show 4 of them. Well, if you know from Mists of Pandaria, there is a legend of the 5 Suns, which is one of the kind of ancient Pandaren record legends that you can learn about when doing Temple of the Jade Serpent. In this ancient tale, there are 5 brilliant suns in the sky. 4 of them are shot down, and 1, presumably, remains in the sky. So for them to show 4 of them, to me, this lines up interestingly well. Did you guys know that these crystals have a way of falling from the sky, like falling stars? For instance, the Tear of Anshe from Season of Discovery. Ture, Beacon of the Naru, fell from the fucking sky on Argus. Okay? So here on Azeroth, we have this ancient Mogu legend of this archer shooting down 4 of them. And I'd be willing to bet, as has been asserted by others before, like, I think it would be Dread Expanse said this, that these 4 crystals careened and fell down into the earth. Now, that's not really that surprising. That's not really like that outlandish, really, to come to the conclusion of. Warcraft sun meteors, which also implies that perhaps our sun is in fact some kind of giant crystal, which could also mean that it is very much so unnatural. Now, here's the thing. There could still be one in the sky and 4 buried beneath the earth. If I had to guess right off the top of my head where some of these are buried, I'm going to go ahead and guess that they're probably under things like the Veil of Eternal Blossoms, or under Sholazar Basin, or were at one point under Ungoro Crater. There could potentially be that under like the Sunwell, right? There are places where life is growing in abundance, could be indications of where these crystals may have fallen. But again, even regardless of that, by the word of the great Khaz'goroth, the Titans' research has revealed that Azeroth's world soul is indeed the prime. Our purpose may yet be fulfilled. Let me continue. They say enormous, powerful chunks of world soul essence. Do you think Beledar and Hallowfall could be one of them? Potentially, but it was never within the scope of our edicts to study the crystal. Really? That is interesting, because I learned something from Thragar's Descent, which is one of the plays that that you do in Dornogal. I believe it's Thragar's Descent. So, this is the story of Thragar's Descent. Act 1, Sonibrid's Call. Prepare for your great adventure to the heart of Azeroth. And now we begin our play to honor the Thragar, heroes lost to time, but not forgotten. The Thragar then says, I hear a call from deep in the earth. It strengthens me. I must go to it. Act 2. Now we venture into the ringing deeps. The machine speakers will neither help nor hinder us. They're ambivalent. They don't care. They're not involved. The machine speakers are down there doing their edicts, which is not to study Beledar. They run into kobolds, which they then defeat, wherein Act 3, they go to Hallowfall. Stay close to the light, lest the darkness of Hallowfall consume you. The canyons of Hallowfall are getting darker, but the song is getting stronger, which means that at the time when the Thragar descended into Hallowfall, Beledar was void. The song that was coming from it remained the same and was drawing this Thragar in. Stay close to the light, she says. Keep that light lit, Earthen Adventurer says, or the darkness will take us. Who put the lights out? Quick, relight the torch. And then the finale, Thragar's fate. Battle the Nerubians of Azj-Kahet and go down in a blaze of glory. Die valiantly at the hands of the Nerubians. The Thragar says the song is louder still, but the Nerubians, there are so many. I must heed the call. And then they die. Ah, we are all slain, but I will still die a Thragar. And then they all die. And then the person at the end, Raban, says this. And so, the Thragar's adventure ended before they reached the bottom of the Coreway. But with this play, we honor the memory of the Thragar and heed the call they heed. This tells you a couple things. 1. Before the Arathi arrived, Beledar was void. 2. The Thragar were drawn to Beledar because it was repeating the song that was coming from deep within the earth. 3. They were not meant to go to Beledar, they were meant to reach the bottom of the Coreway. They were meant to find the source of the song, which Beledar is not. It's repeating the song. This is a history from the Earthen that is revealing to you some things about the Thragar. It's very important to recognize some of these events, some of these things. To further this, not only was the Thragar drawn to it, but we have more information disproving or at least adding additional context as to what Beledar is. Let me read to you the start of Chronicle Volume 1. Chronicle Volume 1, Chapter 1, Mythos, states, the Naru are benevolent creatures of living holy energy. They are perhaps the purest expression of the light that exists in the great dark beyond. The Naru have vowed to bring peace and hope to all mortal civilizations, and waylay the dark forces of the void that seek to engulf creation. Chapter 1, Mythos. Before life began, before even the cosmos took shape, there was light. And there was void, unfettered by the confines of time and space. Unfettered being chained, by the way. So this is implying that time and space order applies chains and restrictions to things. The light swelled across all existence in the form of a boundless, prismatic sea. Great torrents of living energy flitted through its mirrored depths, their movements conjuring a symphony of joy and hope. The ocean of light was dynamic and ever-shifting, yet as it expanded, some of its energies faded and dimmed, leaving behind pockets of cold nothingness. From the absence of light in these spaces, a new power coalesced and came to be. This power was the Void, a dark and vampiric force driven to devour all energy, to twist creation inward to feed upon itself. The Void quickly grew and spread its influence, moving against the flowing waves of light. The mounting tension between these two opposing yet inseparable energies eventually ignited a series of catastrophic explosions, rupturing the fabric of creation and birthing a new realm into existence. In that moment, the physical universe was born. The energies released by the clash of light and void raged across the nascent cosmos, raw matter merging and spinning into primordial worlds without number. For long epochs, this ever-expanding universe, this great dark beyond, broiled in a maelstrom of fire and magic. The most unstable energies coalesced into an astral dimension known as the Twisting Nether. Light and void collided and bled together at the edges of this realm, throwing it into turmoil. Although tangentially linked to the Great Dark Beyond, the Twisting Nether existed outside the borders of the physical universe. Even so, the Twisting Nether's volatile energies would occasionally tear through the veil of the Great Dark, flooding into reality and warping creation. The cataclysmic birth of the cosmos also flung shards of light throughout reality. These shards suffused the matter of myriad worlds with the spark of life, giving rise to creatures of wondrous and terrible diversity. The most common forms of life to appear were the elemental spirits, primordial beings of fire, water, earth, and air. These creatures were native to nearly every physical world. Many of them reveled in the turmoil that held sway over the early ages of creation. Occasionally, clouds of fractured light gathered and gave shape to beings of far greater power, of far greater potential. Among these beings were the Naru, benevolent creatures composed of scintillating holy energies. When they gazed out across the immeasurable universe, they saw a realm of limitless possibilities. The Naru vowed to use their mastery over holy magic to spread hope and nurture life wherever they could find it. Even more extraordinary than the Naru were the colossal Titans. Their spirits, known as world souls, formed deep within the fiery core of a small number of worlds. For ages, these nascent Titans slumbered, their energies suffusing the celestial bodies they inhabited. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Try again later for the 5-month resub. Thank you. When the Titans finally awoke, they did so as living worlds. cosmic winds howled across their gigantic forms, bodies shrouded in a cloak of stardust, skin crisscrossed with silvery mountain peaks and oceans shimmering with latent magic. With eyes that shone like brilliant stars, the Titans observed the fledgling cosmos and became enraptured by its mysteries. Whereas the Naru set out to safeguard life, the Titans embarked on a different journey. They wandered the distant corners of the Great Dark, searching for others of their kind. This grand, far-reaching voyage would one day alter the course of creation and shape the destiny of all living things. So from the cataclysmic birth of the cosmos, shards of light were flung out into the cosmos. There is a very real possibility that our 5 sons, and thus Beladar included, 4 of which were shot down, landed upon our world, and became embedded in its crust. Now, for people saying the crystal is not Naru, I have something for you. Now, this is not a leak. This is not data mined. This is actually publicly available information. This was found on Josh Navarro, senior world builder for the WoW Art team's open art page. And that, I feel, pretty well corroborates what we believe about it. Now the question is there already a Naru inside the crystal, or is one in the process of being born? Feeding off of the faith of the Arathi. And you know what this means? It means the Naru act exactly how we're told the old gods do. They fell from the sky. They fed upon the land. They brought darkness and birthed monstrosities. It's reversed, if you look at it this way. And so if this publicly available piece of art is in fact correct, not only does the Thrager story let you know that the song is coming from deeper within the world, but that the Thrager were also drawn to this crystal long before the Arathi ever came. I don't know if we can trust this since there's stuff that don't make it into the game. Guys, you don't need to do mental gymnastics to convince yourself that it's not a Naru crystal. All evidence points to it being the case. Literally every piece of evidence does. It is Naru in origin. Perhaps not in origin, but in its result. In the naming convention, the runes, the design, the way it shifts, the legend about the 4 sons being shot down, the shards of light flinging out in the cosmos and suffusing myriad worlds, the fact that the Draenei found their way here, none of this is a coincidence. None of it's a coincidence. And in this way, Xal'atath may be looking for an ally, even. That's part of why Xal's so involved in this too, because she's a Naru. And for those of you that are still denying that, you really ought to wake up to what Xal'atath probably really is. If you don't see her as a Naru, I don't know what to say. This is Josh Navarro. And this is correct, Digital Clamped. Both can be right. It could be the essence of Azeroth's World Soul and a Naru. Here's why I disagree. What the fuck is that? If it really and truly is the calcified essence of Azeroth, why isn't it Azerite? Anduin states directly that radiant crystals are like Azerite, but not the same. It's not the same. Guys, you know that I've been trying to get across theories for almost 10 years now that light and void are failed attempts at creation, and that the creation mythos that light and void created the cosmos isn't true. Like, that's something I've been trying to, like, tell you guys for years and years and years. What if light and void are the real creation by mixing? Titans don't want that life, they want ordered life, and it could be that. But when Sylvanas holds as guys, you just, to me, you could be right. It could be order infused in. It could be. They could have taken the original darkness, ripped it out, replaced it with an orderly form, and put it back. That very well could have happened. They could have ripped the heart out, the heart of darkness, in the root of chaos, and shaped it into death and order, and then put it back in. That very well could have happened. But when Sylvanas holds Azerite in her hand, and she feels as though she is a goddess of creation and destruction, the way that Azerite empowered our weapons, the way that we've spoken to Azeroth and she's empowered, not spoken to her, but the way that she's empowered the dragon aspects, these things cannot all be a coincidence. So either someone else is utilizing her power to do these things, or it's Azeroth. Now, Azeroth has already shown that she's multi-aspected. Already, multiple times. We've already seen this. So what aspects could come from it? I just don't believe it, chat. When you look at the world soul, Azeroth, it isn't light and void. It's creation and destruction. It's flame and shadow. And this is why, to me, this whole thing about light and void seems wrong. The reason why in this game they keep making correlations between stasis and entropy and light and void and time is because they're more than likely, in my opinion, one and the same. Light and void are not true light and shadow, chat. I've fucking been pointing this out for almost a fucking decade. Log into your game and read the class description for a Shadow Priest. You can go into Hearthstone and read the description of Amethyst. People love reading about Amethyst. Go read it. You know what it says? It says that Amethyst wields holy and light powers. It also says in the game that Shadow Priests wield shadow magic and terrifying void magic. They're separating them. They're separating them on purpose. Almost everything that we've interacted with in this game has been touched by the hand of order. Holy, light, and void are no different. They're playing at creation. The entire cosmos that we live in is all constructed. It's all a fucking ruse. Holy, light, and void are not safe, they are unstable, and they are unnatural. And if we allow this, what I believe to be false equivalency of creation, to be attributed to light and void, we're all gonna fucking die. And we're gonna get sucked into the void forever. That's what scares me the most, is that we're being convinced that holy, light, and void actually created everything, when we don't actually have any proof of that yet. We cannot actually confirm that. So, with that being said, I've long proposed the idea that true light and shadow have been replaced by something far colder, far less caring, and something that is all-consuming. And that's what the void is. The war between the light and the void cannot be won by the light. It's by holy. It's doomed to fall to the void. Chronicle made me think it years ago. And what's happening now with Xal'atath kind of making me think the same thing. The only way that I've seen light return to void, until we go into Beledar to find out what's in there, the only time I've seen it is with direct mortal intervention. Direct mortal intervention has been the only way to make it happen that I've ever seen. Never seen a naturally occurring cycle between a Naru and a void god. Remember what Xal'atath says. The Naru consider us horrors to be resisted. We do not share this view. They're merely beloved brethren that lost the true path. They will return to their masters in time. Shouldn't say in time there for no reason. I've long speculated that the true creators of the light and the void are probably Aman'Thul and or Norganon if they are not if he's not a worshipper of it. If he's not a worshipper of it, then he is potentially the wielder and crafter of it. There's significant evidence when looking just at Aman'Thul that he has connections to both light and void, and as the god of time, I wonder why that would be. I am of the opinion that light and void are time-ordered. It's like if you took the concept of a flat, circular, cosmic time sink or whatever, and you split it into two. Stasis and entropy. The single path in every possibility. Truth lies at their intersection, not in each one individually. The void cannot be the ultimate answer because it only has half of the solution anyway. It cannot be true. Azeroth's blood was yellow and blue, void and light, was it not? No. No. Azeroth is creation and destruction. There more than likely is a 7th and 8th cosmic force. Creation and destruction, and it is supreme over everything else. Over everything else. So with that all being said, it's a Naru crystal. It is. And again, so wait, Shadow is not void? No. No. You can pretty easily deduce this by going into the game and reading class descriptions, which nobody reads, but that's okay. Wasn't Sargeras destruction, though? He is. He is. Was he always destruction? Good question. As Unicron, he may well be. Or he could be the manifestation of it as a result of his connection to the true destroyer. So, would you claim that Azeroth and Argus were before the creation of Light and Void? Yes. Light and Void are the purest, ordered out things of it. Don't you see? They're so pure. They're so defined and refined and focused. It's very dangerous. If you take Void as the infinite possibilities that lie in the future and Light as the absolute that is the past, you get reality. If you pick which possibility becomes reality in the present, you get order. Perhaps, kind of like an extract, yes. Correct. Pally, I'm not going to agree with this shit that you do with time and space and all this stuff. It very well could be via Light and Void, but I'm not behind you on that. I'm not going to agree with that. True light is in darkness, and darken the light line from Warcraft movie? Yes. What? And in this way, why do you think Azeroth is able to grant the Earthen free will and give Magni back his flesh? They're trying to show you that there is a differentiation to be made between cosmic powers. So isn't Sargeras more deeply connected with Azeroth then than we thought? Yes. Yes. Since he wanted Azeroth to join him, that basically no one else, even Aman'Thul, could stand in his way? Well, it's not predicated based on that logic, but yes, he is. The point that I'm really trying to make with all of this is that I don't believe... There's a couple things I'm trying to establish. Beledar is a Naru-related crystal. Whether it is pre-Naru or is a prison for them or whatever has yet to be determined, but I am sure it is of Naru relation or origin. I do not believe at this moment that it is truly the calcified essence of Azeroth, as I believe Azerite is that. I think that that is the way that they interpreted it, and what they were led to believe is not true. Thirdly, the Thrager descended into Hallowfall before the Arathi ever arrived, and the original state of Beledar may have in fact been void. 4. The true source of the song is not coming from Beledar, it is coming from deeper within the core way, where the world soul is, presumably, and it seems as though Beledar is repeating or kind of rebroadcasting or copying the song of creation to try to lure other things in, which is very scary. That's very scary. Very fucking freaky when you start thinking about it that way. When you start to think of it this way, the Beladar and the Naru start to look a little more parasitic, like a fucking anglerfish, Miss Mossy. And guess what you find all over Hallowfall? Cobus, with angler lights hanging from their foreheads. What is Beladar? It's a lure. It's most certainly, more than likely, what it is. But what happens, chat? As Chronicle Volume 1 depicts, as Xalatath says every time you start a dungeon, inevitably, the void consumes everything. And so maybe this is the way the cosmic structure is supposed to work, but I don't believe it. I refuse to believe that our ultimate fate is to be swallowed by an unending darkness. I don't believe that. I refuse. I don't believe that. Why would we consign ourselves to such a fate? Fuck that. Fuck that. The void only consumes everything because it's bent to do so. Because it's built to do so. Fuck that. Are we as mortals of free will and hope going to let darkness and despair take us? Fuck no. Fuck that. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. And our connection with Azeroth hopefully will be the reason for which that will never happen. But inevitably it's closing in around us. This is what Sargeras feared, that the Void Lords would consume everything. But remember, this is alleged to be a lie, proposed to him by the Dreadlords themselves. So if it's not true that that's the inevitable end, then perhaps the stars have only aligned thusly to make it so. But what do I always tell you guys? Destiny is not writ upon the stars. It cannot be. Because we as movers of fate, breakers of chains, wielders of hope, and defiers of gods, slayers of gods in some cases, do not bend the knee to any force. Period. It doesn't matter if it's light. It doesn't matter if it's void. It doesn't matter if it's fell, arcane, life, or death. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The power of free will surpasses all of that. All of it. Spirit and the fire within. Doesn't the light want to consume us all too? It will just make it feel better? Well, Lady Daisy, what is the inherent logical fallacy of the light consuming everything? What will inevitably happen if the light did that? The darkness would consume everything. Because as posited by Chronicle and as evidenced in the game, the light, as it runs out of power, inevitably falls to void. It will happen. Not if, just when. And that is the true danger. And as Illidan says, your faith has blinded you. We're blind to what is coming. Because we haven't stopped to question the forces in front of us. What is light's power then? The faith of mortals. Let me ask you something. Are the Naru the source of your faith? Or do they feed upon it? And perhaps they give it back to you in some kind of orderly bolstering, as like a paladin or whatever. But what is the true source of the power? Is it really the Naru? No. It's you. It's your faith. It's your heart. It's your hope. That is the real power. They need it from you, not the other way around. And that's the key to this cosmos that makes you realize that we are all powerful. The Titans are afraid of us, and they should be, because they can't do what we can do. Everything should fear us. Everything. Because there is nothing that insurmounts the raw power of creation and free will. Nothing. Even if it's short and fleeting, and we live small from the perspective of God's meaningless lives. Who the fuck are they to define that for us? Some would say our only God-given right is the right to choose for ourselves. To have that free will, to make those choices, to reflect upon it. And in regaining his faith, too. It's our willing adherence to ordered belief. But there's different manifestations of it. And I am of the opinion that the holy, sacred flame of the Arathi is different. Because as the Arathi have pointed out, Beladar is not the source of their power. It's coming from within. It's something the Arathi believe. It's something that is burned into their soul. That they live through conviction and oaths and a sense of duty and honor. And although that can be used and manipulated against them, Sargeras, like him, even though that can be manipulated against them, it's still important to recognize where that comes from. It comes from within. It comes from within. And in this way, there can be no chosen one. Only we can save ourselves.